very much, Colleague. And thank you very much, Young Cora. It's amazing that a small group of people can produce. Now, you know, this teacher thing grows on you. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? Which Shakespeare play begins with those words? Congratulations to the matriculants. You didn't run away. Let's give them a hand. We have the second part, and this is the white coat ceremony. Everybody should wake up. Without error, well, they're supposed to have a lot of knowledge that's voluminous. 2, the clinical part of their faith. As I said before, we are not graduating them. They are not doctors yet. They are moving to another phase of their studies. We have told them that the knowledge acquired in the preclinical area is equal to the white coat ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you said it all, really. This is the time when we are donning the accoutrements of clinical practice on our students. And so this is a symbolic gesture. They've already started in the clinics, but this is the formalization of that start. And we believe that there are even greater things ahead for all of them. Unfortunately, one of them was just taken ill this morning, so it will be -1. So, clinical students, level 400, kindly be upstanding. And now you don't need to worry. We have the Vice President of the SRC, who's very capable and can move into those shoes. So, kindly place your hand over your podium. The appropriate hand over the appropriate parts, and say the oath after me. Whenever I say the first I, then you mention your name. With this oath, I commit myself to the responsibilities of a physician in training, and to the obligations of the medical profession with heart power. I will faithfully serve the well-being of my patients and strive to prevent, treat, and cure diseases. I will treat my patients with dignity. Safeguard their confidence. And respect their privacy. While serving as their advocates. Most especially, I must tread with care in matters of life and death. I will educate and empower them as guardians of their own health. In the pursuit of excellence, I dedicate myself to a lifetime of learning, teaching, and innovating the art and science of medicine. I will approach my medical education with integrity, passion, and humility, respecting the patients and teachers from whom I shall learn. I will not be ashamed to say, I know not. Nor will I fail to call in my colleagues when the skills of another are needed for a patient's recovery. I will remember that I remain a member of society with special obligations to all my fellow human beings. Those sound of mind and body, as well as the infirm. May I always act so as to preserve the finest traditions of my calling. And may I long experience the joy of healing those who seek my help. This oath that I make freely and upon my honor is an acknowledgement of my commitment to the Accra College of Medicine and its tradition of excellence. By donning this white coat, I humbly accept the privileges and responsibilities of the study and the practice of medicine, the Lord being my strength and help. All right, so now we will start. You will come out and you will the next Valentina Pate. Amia Magro Boate. Kelvin Isiedu Enchi. Oh, your Vice President. Ekwe akwati maka ambrasa penito. Christian Akure Ajema. Nana ya Amakosa Odam. Patricia, we enjoy it. Nane kwa kuma osu. Very from bon and the last one, Mama Yara is unwell, so she was not here. So I will kindly invite, I think over. All clinicians here, please stand in front of one of them and help them don their attire. Faculty, please. Dr. Bannerman.
We are opening up the coat. When I say 1, 2, 3.
made it, huh? You made it. Now what? Look at him.
Thank you very much. You can all take it. Oh, before you do that, I'll ask Reverend Patrick to just say a word of prayer.
I would ask the rest of us to rise as we pray. Our Heavenly Father and our God, we are so grateful to you for your goodness to us. Master, we thank you for how far you have brought your children. You began with them. And Lord, as they move to this next stage, oh Lord, we are confident that the one who has begun with them, you will take them through and bring them to an excellent end. And so we say thank you. We commit them into your hands and we speak your blessings upon them. And we ask that, Lord, may your mighty hands be around them, that they are going forth into this new stage will mark the beginning of great things in their lives. That these ones will serve with humility, will serve with joy, and will serve with honor. And at the end of it all, Lord, we proclaim that praise and glory be to your name for the sake of these ones. We bless you this morning. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Please take your seat.
In the middle. We are very proud of you. We are extremely proud of you. And we know that you can make it. We thank the Lord for bringing us thus far. Each clinical student has received, as part of the ceremony, one stethoscope generously donated by the Adomaku family. We are grateful. Yes. You've seen the big books. Don't be intimidated. Be interested. Be interested. The big book you're seeing is the all-time medical student's favorite surgery textbook. It is the Bailey and Love. Accra College of Medicine is happy to give each one of you one Bailey and Love as your own copy. Read it, love it, enjoy it, know it. This is medicine you have to read. As for the parents whose hearts are beating, your children are not babies anymore. They are grown men and women who are on their way. It shall be well in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so now I would like to call on the teacher of teachers hereby present, Professor Nyami, Chairman of the Medical and Dental Council. The Medical and Dental Council is the policing body of medical doctors. The Medical and Dental Council ensures that you get properly trained doctors in the first place. They ensure that when some of our own and others train elsewhere, when they get to Ghana, they are properly examined and certified as able to practice here in Ghana. They are the ones who somehow do the magic of weeding out the parts in the system. They are the ones who make sure that those of us who are medical professionals already keep learning They are our policemen. Ladies and gentlemen, a hand of applause for Hope of the Seven.
Good morning. The president of the college, Professor FYSC, faculty of the college, guest speaker, Kuman, distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen. I actually didn't expect to be asked to speak. And as soon as I got here, I was confronted by my colleagues that I have to say a word or two. So if I don't sound particularly articulate, it's because my mental process is not completely settled. But all the same, I have to say a big thank you for the invitation, at least to be a guest and to observe what's going on. Now, I would like, first of all, to congratulate the founders of this college for their vision and for their hard work. I'm slightly familiar with the formative stages, formative years of institutions. So I know the sort of work people have to do, the sort of struggles, the sort of tears, and indeed in Ghana, the sort of fights you have to go through. So I congratulate Efua and Adukwe. Great job done. Congratulations. Let me say straight away that to study medicine is a privilege. And I'm not saying this in comparison to any other profession. Every profession is a great profession. No two ways about that. But to study medicine, I would say it's a great privilege. For reasons some of you know, and for reasons you may allude to. First of all, in the selection process, as you know, it's not everybody who wishes, who gets what they want. It's a struggle, and people have to travel far and wide just to be able to access education in medicine. So it is a privilege which must be used properly and certainly not abused. Now, I think I will just make a remark or two about the white coat ceremony, because it brings out, this is really the period that the whole aim of becoming a doctor is focused on. In the past, doctors didn't wear white coats. And of course, there was a certain stage in history where every quack was claiming to be a doctor. And the doctors suddenly realized that scientists were wearing white coats. So they decided that they should also wear white coats. So in a sense, it marks a transition from what one would say the theoretical part of the study of medicine into when the firm level of scientific practice of medicine was taken on. And I'm sure you've all read about, where it took place for the first time. That was, well, actually Chicago, but in practice it was in Columbia University. And now it's become almost a worldwide phenomenon. And in Ghana, I noticed that at least 4 medical schools are practicing it, and it's a good sign. But what are the lessons to be learned from this? It's not the giving away of stethoscopes or the wearing of white coats to cameras, but what is the message? So what is the significance? I've already mentioned that it marks a transformation from the theoretical to the scientific, and indeed access to the privacy of patients. So this carries responsibilities. The responsibilities, as far as I'm concerned, first one should be respect for teachers. Respect for teachers. If you're going to be a good clinician, you're not going to learn all of it. In fact, not too much of it from books. You're going to have to learn from your apprenticeship under your teachers. So you need to learn right from the beginning to show a great deal of respect to your teachers. And I expect this to last a lifetime. Actually, you see it with most doctors, not that there are not some funny ones among them, but the regular ones, you should respect their teachers to death, do they bad. So I would urge you to particularly follow the practices of your teachers, how they carry on, their ethics, their good behavior, and of course, now and then there may not be some so good behaviors. I would advise you to adopt those ones. Cleanliness for me is very important. Cleanliness, and indeed the white coat must be signifying that. One thing which pains me a lot when I go into the emergency room to see doctors in not so nice t-shirts, wearing chaliwates, you know, just looking too, not too attractive for comfort, if you know what I mean. I think confidence is engendered in a patient. If you come, you don't need to wear a three-piece suit. You don't need to buy an expensive, indeed you can wear a t-shirt. If you have a clean white coat to buy it, you can be recognized as a doctor. That is what we need. But the flip-flops and the funny and not so nice looking apparel people wear, I think we must try and guard against that. The other important thing is also confidentiality. You see, with WhatsApp, anything you see which is attractive, the temptation is to get on with it, snap it, and before people in Teshi get to know it, they know of it already in New York. I'm advising that if you see what may seem to be a interesting clinical case, it is for your eyes only. The privacy and the confidentiality of every patient must be protected. Indeed, it is said that this must be protected even when they are dead. Sometimes difficult to do. You may have to reveal the confidentiality when you are forced by the force of law. When the law courts demand that you disclose something, you have no choice to disclose that. So you must really learn how to keep your mouth, well, not completely shut, but as close to that as possible. Please don't go telling about what you've seen in the world, what this patient told you. And don't forget, patients, we do ask a lot of questions, sometimes even pertaining to their private life, what they do in their homes, with their families, and so on. It's not your business to be going to a social club and telling everybody what that patient told you. Now, one thing which the forces of current life making people is the loss of empathy. Empathy. Doctors' first duty is to show some concern for the fate of the patient. Even if you cannot cure him, let them feel that there's hope. It's been said that doctors must feel that they must always remember that they too are human. We shouldn't be shouting at them even when under pressure. I know sometimes you look outside and there are 100 patients waiting for you to see. You are under pressure and are not so nice to the patients. And people are complaining about it seriously. So right from the beginning, when you start clerking and so on, please try and show empathy to the patients. I hope it is not lost on you that you are here to study. And there must be no messing around. No alluders. No alluders. No alluders. This doesn't mean that you mustn't have an opinion, but to do it in a way which will bring the breakdown of law and order, of destruction of properties and so on, which sometimes becomes fashionable, I don't think should be encouraged. We have too much to lose as people if we start acting in this sort of way, but you are entitled to have an opinion and express it. And also very importantly for me is keep off drugs. You will find out when you go into the clinical side, there's easy access to some of the drugs. And some of them are pretty addictive. Keep off drugs. Because as soon as you start, it's very difficult to stop. You're going to get problems with yourself, with your family, and with the community. I'm aware there's one called what? Tramo. For heaven's sake, keep away from these drugs because they are strong. Now, if you are able to do some of the things I've mentioned here, then I'm sure we'll look forward in the next few years, 3 to 4 or 5 years, to swear you in an induction ceremony as a doctor, a practicing doctor in our dear country, Ghana. And I wish you the best of luck in the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Nyami. We know now why we are saying he's the teacher of teachers of teachers. Professor Nyami has mentioned a number of things. One, respect for teachers. That one is not going anywhere. 2, cleanliness of yourself and your surroundings. Look sharp. What do you have to lose? Confidentiality, know what to say and when to say it. No okromouth doctor allowed. Number 4, empathy. Even under pressure. When the pressure builds, your demeanor should actually be at its best. And your sense and your intelligence should be riding high over the storm. He said, no alluter. Not that you shouldn't have opinions, you should think. It is a thinking profession, that you should not be distracted. And then he said, keep off drugs. You are young, even if you are old. Drugs, like a bad character, will show. Can't hide it. It's like pregnancy, as your president has said. So don't go near it. Use the heart power that we are adding on to everything at the Accra College of Medicine, and you can manage all these things very nicely. I hope a word to the wise. Okay. So we have 2 presidents in the House. The president of the Accra College of Medicine and the president of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons. One says she will introduce the other. What can I say?
Actually, he's my senior by a year, medical school. Dr. John Nkrumah Mills trained at the Ghana Medical School, and he's one of the first 10 batches of the medical school's inauguration, passing out with an MBCHB in 1975. He started his postgraduate training at Kolebu after extensive experience working as a medical officer in the country, all over. And he completed with the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh exam and returned home in 1989 with a fellowship. He has since worked as a surgeon with a wide array of interests, including training of various categories of health workers, improving health systems, and assuring specialist health care is carried to the district level with specialist colleagues on medical outreach programs. This included areas along the Volta Lake as he worked with the Volta River Authority, becoming the Director Health and Safety in charge of a large public health program for the VRA. He's a Foundation Fellow for the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, just like we are, and he's been involved in the life and training activities of the college, and now serves the college as the President of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, the second indigenously trained person to serve in this position. Dr. Nkrumah Mills, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I must say that I had written out formal things, but I recognize quickly that there are too many people who know too much about me that I can't go formal. Madam President, distinguished people at the high, on the days, distinguished faculty, parents and guardians of our distinguished students, both matriculated just a few minutes ago and those who have been quite quoted a few minutes ago. Before I go on, let me plug some advert here. We need more surgeons in the world and in Ghana. So at least 50% of the people here I expect to do surgery in the future. The medical landscape in Ghana has been changing, just like many aspects of society generally, mostly as a result of increasing population and subsequent socioeconomic dynamics. Some of it has been planned for, as it is the duty and function of government. When you do not know what is the government doing at all, take time and find out. And you find that our governments, whichever color, have been doing what they should be doing. One could also perceive trends if we're involved in any system, whereas inefficiencies can always be found in any system. So it was that as a senior medical student, by which I mean you have done your first set of clinical appointments and done pediatrics and public health, when I started having opinions about medical care in the country, medical students having opinions about medical care in the country, you would think. But the commission was certain that the future of healthcare in the country was that of private practice. What is meant by that phrase is that a greater portion of healthcare provision would be by facilities other than those directly supervised by the Ghana Health Service or the Ministry of Health. Currently, CHAC, the church-affiliated hospitals, provide about 50% of healthcare in the country. And if done by the private clinics and quasi-government facilities like Bank of Ghana, VRA, and other hospitals are included, then that prediction was real as a medical student. Mind you, I had no idea of the proportional provision of healthcare by government as against that by the private sector at the time. It was purely based on the inefficiencies noted in the government-controlled system. Obviously, such an analysis, given the insufficient knowledge, insufficient exposure to governmental planning, and overall picture of health dynamics, was not robust, if not invalid. It was just skimming the surface. Hence, the conclusions would not stand up to rigid scrutiny. Indeed, the health service in the country seems to have done very well, in my view, particularly given that one is now in a situation to have more information on health issues and governmental planning. This, however, does not seem to change the fact that I still believe that the future of healthcare in the country will not depend on the efforts of the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service, but that other actors will need to play a strong role. Then also, who says a medical student cannot look at his or her environment, evaluate the goings on, and make a decision that will be valid? Come to think of it, the clinical methods being taught in medical schools is a systematic way of basically equipping the student to do just that. The student is simply being taught to look, which includes taking a history. Look again, which this time includes examining the issues. It may include asking questions and discussions with others, then making a diagnosis and an action plan. So it is, as in clinical medicine, history, examination, investigations may be needed. Then you assemble all the information and make a diagnosis. Secondly, in the senior year, students are encouraged to come up with ideas on a health problem they would want to solve. This ends up as a project they would write up for their public health, a requirement for passing that section of the examination before you graduate. So, at the student level, they are encouraged to look at healthcare holistically, and valid conclusions could be made. So, you have a right to have an opinion on the situation using the tools you will be taught. Imagine my delight when 5 years ago I was in Techima in the Denbronger region when I met a doctor who had his rotation as a medical student through the hospital where I was working. And he came up to me and said he thought I was right when I discussed the fact about the role of private practice in the country. He had just started a private clinic at Techima after working for 5 years in the Ghana Health Service. And although the going was not easy, he was satisfied and was enjoying the work. Yes, the private sector could have an important role in the healthcare system, but where would the doctors to work in the healthcare system be trained? That did not occur to me as a problem. Neither was it a concern nationally for social discussion at the time. Nobody was ever discussing about the future of training doctors at the time. It has become of concern subsequently because as the training of doctors progressed arithmetically, population growth was geometrical. Initially, there was one medical school in Accra in the 60s. Then the second one was added in the 80s in Kumasi. The third one in the 90s in Tamale, fourth one at Cape Coast, and now a fifth one at Ho recently. It went from 1 to 2 to 3 and finally 5 in that order in the public sector. This is good planning by our government because the population was bound to grow. The population, however, grew from 6 million at independence to 10 million in the 1976, 15 in the 90s, and right now 30 million. We have planned, but this is the population growth. So we see a need to accelerate training of doctors for the country. Obviously, this relationship of population growth and the need of society affects everything from food production, classrooms, and where to live. But since this discussion applies to healthcare, we will restrict that only to the healthcare of the country. And any discussion as to doctors also will apply to all categories of healthcare workers, including the healthcare facilities also. Various proposals, including importation of manpower, where there has been a failure of manpower planning, could be made. But it seems logical to propose involvement of the private sector in the training of doctors in the country. We are aware that with the establishment of an excellent college of medicine, the Accra College of Medicine, and others, there's already an involvement in the sector in the training of doctors. So why don't we have a formal proposal to look deliberately at increasing the involvement of the private sector in the training of doctors in the country? If our manpower training were to be on point. This can only happen when there's a central manpower plan for at least the health sector in the country. When one talks about increasing the training of doctors and increasing the facilities to do that, what is meant is that there should be a proper planning with projections on all aspects of the healthcare system, all the way up to the postgraduate level. Given my current position, that's what I should be saying, postgraduate level included. Such a national plan would facilitate the setting up of the private training institutions. And note, It is to facilitate, not to set them up. By looking at the financial dynamics such as loans, taxes, funding, and funding for students as well as pertains to the public tertiary institutions. Other areas to look at include the sharing of resources like clinical facilities and efficient use of resources such as anatomy dissecting rooms. Currently, a training institution with an anatomy dissecting room may use it for 3 half-day sessions in a week. The students may do dissection Monday morning, Wednesday morning, Friday morning. And then the facility will lie idle for the remaining 7 half-day sessions in the week. Talk about lack in the midst of plenty. No, I'm not offering simplistic solutions. Certainly, there will be the need for meetings aimed at finding the problems that need to be solved. Obviously, if the facility is not on your campus, you will have to be traveling, there may have to be accommodation, and things like that. But these can be looked at to solve our problem of lack of productivity in our activities within the public system. I am fascinated by the telecommunication workspace. As a previous chief executive I worked with pointed out to management staff, when we had Ghana Telecom, even when mobile phones had come in the system, subscribers were less than 1 million for the whole country. Once that space was opened up to the private sector, the increase in telephone subscriber numbers just went up. Currently, our subscriber base seems to be more than the 30 million people that we have. People have mobile phones with double chips. I've seen one with quadruple chips, and somebody has 2 phones, but I can't tell whether he has double chip in each one or quadruple chip in each one. But see what that has done, opening up the space. But then look at the banking space as well. So there is a reasonable call for our deliberately going out to the private sector to help solve the problem of doctor shortage in the country. If one considers the very high levels of specialist practice beyond the tertiary levels we know that have been added to our health facilities. Take the new University of Ghana hospital. I haven't been inside, but I've heard of the equipment levels. The new bank hospital by the Bank of Ghana, then the Maritime Hospital. The level of specialization that these places have been primed to work at. How should we be reacting to our postgraduate specialist training programs? We may be going too slowly. Who is going to equip or man those facilities? Perhaps a plan which deliberately includes facilitation of the private sector involvement is necessary now. With the establishment of independent or private medical schools starting in the country, we are answering the question, where will the doctors who work in the healthcare system be trained? I would not be surprised if this had been the question which some other medical students had asked or thought about while I was busy applying the clinical methods taught me on managing the healthcare system in Ghana. This is because the training of the medical school is formative in concept, that of gently deconstructing you violently. It is gently deconstructing you violently. Using a combination of secretly planned techniques, starting from the time of Hippocrates. And Hippocrates was born before Jesus was born. So to our students who have just matriculated, I'm revealing to you the real nature of what you have let yourselves in for. You had the opportunity to go out. There will be heavy workload of new and expanding knowledge. And I assure you, I was interested in particularly in pathology, so I went to a medical student I knew very closely and got the new edition of the pathology book we're familiar with. I couldn't stand the book for more than 2 days. I returned it. There was too much new stuff, right down to the molecular level. We were not taught that. And it was disturbing me, so I returned the book. There will be some copious reading assignments, long laboratory sessions, and frequent evaluations and tests. It is heavy, but it's doable. Yeah, you can also do it. And one of the reasons why you'll be able to do it is that you have already proven that you have the ability by meeting the admission criteria through the efforts that you have made so far. So now, if you add discipline, determination, and hard work to your abilities, you'll certainly come through victorious. You will need to plan how you work. Recently found out that I was spending 2 hours a day on social media, answering queries, reading some interesting facts and things. But you know, we all have 8 hours to work in the day. And 2 hours out of the 8 hours is 25% of my working period. Then I thought the climate change had made it so that the time duration in the day was shorter. But then I found the cause for it. And I recommend that your use of social media and things, you be careful and plan your work. Oh, by the way, if after your initial anatomy sessions, you dream of skeletons and dead bodies, don't worry. These are special medical school trained ones that do no harm to anybody. I know some of you will try and fact check this, and I assure you it's not on Google. So don't fact check. They will cause your brain to play back what you have been learning, or what you haven't learned and would come in the exam, so that you can't sleep. So for matriculating cohorts, at this point, I repeat once again, there's no turning back. So welcome to the club. We have those who have also moved on to have their white coats symbolically put on for them today. Yes, both coats, the laboratory coats that you wear and the white coats are white. But one is called a white coat for important reasons, which Professor Paul Neme, also one of his students, has informed us about. It identifies you as belonging to a particular group of people. These are persons who have the enormous privilege and responsibility of being trusted with people's personal information. You know, nowadays, information is extremely important. And if you have information, how to keep it is extremely important. There are laws. You could go to jail. You have to manage these pieces of information as you gather them as confidential. In this business, trust is most important. The white coat identifies you both literally and metaphorically. The literal is important, and don't be caught on the word without your white coat on. I'll find which places you are working in and come and spy. If you are not in your white coats, we shall have conversations. If even you don't have the depth of knowledge and confidence of experienced doctors yet, at least the white coat makes you look like one, isn't it? But more importantly, metaphorically, the white coat imbues you with the spirit of all the fathers of medicine, which includes wisdom, knowledge, integrity, honesty, kindness, and empathy. You will notice that you no longer talk by heart. When you talk wisdom, and you respect the wisdom of your elders. This time, wearing the white coat, the work includes sleepless nights on the ward. When you may work through the night, And if you think that on the next day you have a day of, I'll translate from the tree for those who don't understand tree, you have got. You will have to attend clinics and have your tutorials and present your coursework. It is tough. You won't be forgiven. But some amount of coffee, no other drugs. Some amount of coffee and other tricks will help. I've seen people holding up their upper eyelids. I haven't done any study whether it helped, but they were trying to do that. But you find that there's something within you at that stage that you will probably not be aware of personally. You will make it. Your skills will be sharpened, and you wouldn't believe that it was this ordinary you. It is you who have been transformed. This is when you should have put in all the hard work, and you have been reformed to become a doctor after you've been gently dissected out and been put back. I'll see you on the day of graduation if we put on all the hard work, and I'll cheer you on. I congratulate all you students for the hard work you are putting to get this far, and encourage you to persevere. I congratulate the executive and staff of the Accra College of Medicine for having had the courage to start breaching the wall and having gotten to this point, and to encourage you by saying that small is beautiful, oh, small is nice, but the overheads are a little high. So start contemplating increasing in size and numbers, because the potential is obvious and you have garnered the experience. Perhaps I was in church last Sunday, and I'm preaching this coming Sunday. I'm not a prophet, but a brand new campus in 5 years' time on a different location would not be a bad idea. And you would be reinforcing the fact that it is time that as a people, we started pushing the boundaries and moving forward purposefully. And we can do it. I see hope. I thank you all for giving me audience, and I thank the President of the Accra College of Medicine and all the staff for your gracious invitation. Thank you all very much. Now, something very interesting. My special thanks is to Reverend Professor Dukoy Hesse, who may not be aware of a role he's played in my life. At a time when I had finished my training and had been turned down for sponsorship for a research program by the Health Authority in the UK, and was negotiating with the health authorities in Kuwait for a job position they were offering me, he called me on phone about coming home for a job opening. Although the Ghana government had declined to sponsor my training in the UK, and so I felt myself a free agent to go anywhere in the world to work. I thought that was fair. The conversation started a process that got me to return home, and I have no regrets for doing that. So, thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nkrumah Mills. You are a visionary and you have inspired us. Dr. Nkrumah Mills has told you that you should have opinions, that you should have informed opinions. You should assemble all the information and then form your opinion. I'm say he's a visionary because when I think of the years, it took more than 40 years for private medical schools to start in Ghana after Kolebu started. But postgraduate medical education in Ghana started in 2003. Professor Yami here was very instrumental indeed. It's been less than 20 years, and he's already thinking and speaking of privately run postgraduate medical education. That is indeed visionary, and he has opened my eyes to something that I was not thinking about before. Thank you so much. We are grateful to you for coming, and we are truly inspired. We are getting to the end of our program. I hope nobody is sleeping. If you're sleeping, wake up. I would like to say thank you. Thank you to each and every single one of you for making this possible and for your presence. We are grateful to our sign language faculty. They really make a difference. We are grateful to parents and friends for taking time off everything to be here with us. In Accra College of Medicine, we respect and love our parents too much. We are grateful to young Coralie. You have made a difference in proceedings. Beautiful angelic voices. We are grateful to our invited guests, especially our special guest of honor. We are grateful to faculty and indeed all staff of Accra College of Medicine. You work hard. We are grateful to you. For faculty, I am particularly humbled always to see my teachers. I can see Professor Phillips here, who taught me level 200 in the University of Ghana. His style. His style alone, his speech, the depth of knowledge, you can't help but to want to be like him. We're grateful to each and every single one of you. May God truly bless you. Now, if you look at your program on page 1, you will see that we will have a recession after we have said the closing prayer. Ladies and gentlemen on the podium will march forth first, followed by faculty, our clinical students, and the matriculants will end the procession. And then we will take photographs at the front of the building. So everybody please proceed to the front of the building for the appropriate photographs to be taken. After that, there will be a reception. Please bear with us. We will have to have our refreshments in different parts of the building. Invited guests will go to the council chamber, which is the president's office upstairs, for refreshments. Faculty, please could you kindly go to the reception of the building for your reception.
Thank you. And we give you glory for your presence. For you